So today is a pretty good day. I see the horses and the sheep getting along out there with the chickens and the cows. It's still wintertime, so my daughter keep asking, "Oh man, why do you keep dressing like it's Christmas?" I said, "Well, because it is. It's still Christmas because the gifts just keep on coming." For those of you who are ready for this tyrannical reign to end, everything is setting the stage for a dramatic downfall of the regime. Trump is getting impeached. Those are his words, not mine.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
So he tried to gain points by immigration deportation, but we started to see him focus more on Americans fighting for the right to walk in America without being beat or shot or harassed.
Armed agents carrying out Donald Trump's controversial immigration crackdown will now have to wear body cameras while on patrol after intense backlash.
In the meantime, though, two brothers are taking matters into their own hands. They are sacrificing normal teenage life to be full-time observers of the agents and their operations.
Yeah. Donald Trump has single-handedly been able to even get the kids together. First, they had them all running around saying, "Hey, we probably shouldn't even be going to school." So a lot of them have been, getting homeschooled, especially since the Department of Education is just about gone. But now that is turning against them because they are out in the street fighting the fight also against ICE, against the Trump administration.
I've been pushed around, tear gassed like 7 times, and then pepper sprayed multiple times.
Even if they're scared?
Definitely every time we hear a sighting and we start driving over there, I'm shaking a little bit in the car because it's terrifying.
The brothers put homeschooling on hold to join activists following around federal agents, capturing a city in chaos, arrests, violence, tear gas, rubber bullets, and so much anger.
Stand back up, the green stuff.
What made you both decide to become ICE observers?
We're just seeing so many horrible situations and so much hate and fear being caused just for no reason. Just at a core, basic empathy and caring for other people and loving your neighbor almost makes it impossible not to fight for this.
And now, this man in custody, after jumping on teenage girls at a school walkout to protest ICE, jumped out of his truck to go attack 2 teenage girls, as you can see right here. Little did he know the entire school would whoop his ass.
Police say they arrested the man in this video. Authorities tell us yesterday, 45-year-old Chad Watts stepped out of his truck to engage in an altercation with teenage students during a walkout to protest ICE.
We start to see that Americans were being told to allow the government to take over state rights by telling you to be silent at protests. You can't follow or film ICE crimes. As a matter of fact, stay home and give up your right to protect yourself in the streets. So that means no First Amendment, no Second Amendment, no Fourth Amendment anymore, according to Kash Patel, Jenny Panine, and a couple of others.
With that being said, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns.
What about the Second Amendment?
Listen, you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that, but it's just a very unfortunate incident.
So that doesn't sit too well, not even with MAGA. If you don't comply, we're building a database with facial recognition on every one of you that don't comply. Exactly.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you?
Police around the country have been using face recognition in a different way, right? In investigations where there's an image of a suspect. And we know of numerous wrongful arrests from that use because this technology is glitchy. It gets it wrong a lot. And it gets it wrong particularly often when used on people of color, darker skinned people. Of course, who are these masked federal agents grabbing off the street? People of color. They're racial profiling. They're taking people based only on the color of their skin and then using this very glitchy app to try to identify them and match them to immigration records. And we know it makes errors.
So when you see us again, you now will be considered a terrorist. And a deadly force will be used against you. 8 people were killed last month. Out of the 8, 4 were killed out in the streets. Those 4 had previous contacts with ICE and were in the database. We know of 2, 3, the lady that got shot 5 times with 7 holes, Renee Good and Pretty. All 3 of them had previous interactions with ICE.
And any gun owner knows that when you are carrying a weapon, when you are bearing arms and you are confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. And again, that's unfortunately what took place on Saturday.
But the one thing they didn't count on was justice. And justice moves slow, but it moves. They also didn't count on how hard-headed Americans are. We didn't survive wars, genocides, slavery. We don't mind when you try and take away our freedoms. The country that was built on these supposed freedoms until we fought for real freedom for all ethnicities in America and abroad, we are hard-headed. We fight dictators, we fight governments, we fight pedophiles, we fight cult leaders, we fight murderous fascists. And we are resilient. Resistance is futile because we will burn this bitch down and no one will blame us when we are free entirely. That's America. We've proven it time and time again. To governors, to mayors, to presidents, to king.
Actually, in the end up net benefiting the Democrats because Donald Trump started this fight. So now midterm election year is upon us. That gerrymandering plan has really failed. I think they thought this was like their secret weapon, right? Their ace in the hole. No. So now it's time for the Republican plan B. And that is, and they're saying this out loud, to fully seize the machinery of American voting. I mean, last week they started moving on this project in Fulton County, Georgia, where FBI agents raided the election office and left with nearly 700 boxes of ballots.
America is not in denial. Donald Trump has just captured a lot of our media to be able to fight the bulk of America that knows what Donald Trump is and knows what he's doing. That's why his numbers are way below water. I mean, below 0, not 10%, not 2%, not 1%, minus 30 on the approval rate. So when we know for a fact what is plain to see in our eyes, and we see the moves that Donald Trump is making to still try and cover up and hide. People are quitting left and right in the DOJ. Dan Bongino, a lot of these, they can't even hire lawyers for deportations anymore. They can't even hire lawyers to defend these ICE agents anymore.
But it's so pitiful. I'm trying to think of an analogy, like the best colleges, Harvard or Stanford, that take 3%. Imagine they're suddenly, going down to the local 7-Eleven. Want to come to Harvard? Want to come to Stanford? It is really, so it's pitiful, laughably pitiful, and you could chortle a little, given that it's all, goes to Bondi and Blanche and the whole gang. Just a few more things. So Minnesota is completely hollowed out. Why? Because that's the place where they were ordering people. Now, don't look into this Jonathan Ross, who shot Renee Good, but Renee Good's widow, she's a domestic terrorist. Literally at that point, the highest career professionals in the office said, man, we are out of here. You guys are nuts. And so the office is just hollowed out of anyone to do criminal stuff. And what AUSA Lee was saying, if you caught the context of it, is I can't get that. We've had the chief judge of the district court in Minneapolis, also a judge in LA, say these guys are violating more orders in a month than most agencies have done in their lifetime. And what Lee is saying to him is, I can't stop them. Why can't you go to ICE and make them just comply with court orders? And Lee is throwing up her hands. She's saying the job sucks and I need 24 hours of sleep. But the main reason is I can't make my recalcitrant clients just do the minimum of complying with court orders. So that's the overall profile that we have on our hands.
The Trump regime are not using judicial warrants, but they're using administrative warrants. You know how you've heard that? Well, judicial warrants come from federal judges. That's the Fourth Amendment, that you have the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. But the Trump regime's position is we don't need those from federal judges. We've got our own judges that we're hiring through Franklin stolen IP ads on Twitter. I kid you not, this is real. And they're saying they're the ones who basically write tickets to the ICE and Border Patrol agents who get to go into your house without making a showing of Fourth Amendment probable cause or to satisfy the strictures of the freedom to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Franklin is helping write the next chapter of America. You can too. We're looking for patriotic legal professionals to serve as deportation judges. Your work will have generational consequences. Apply today.
That's how bad it's gotten. So it's even worse in the Democratic cities because he's attacking them. But when we see stuff like this, you ought to know that America's not stupid.
The polls are almost dishonest, almost as dishonest as some of the reporters themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm getting very good polls. I'm getting very good polls on crime prevention, on law and order, and on the border. I have to. And I'm starting to get great polls on the economy, which I think
the polls on the economy they're not great.
They should be great.
They should be. So why aren't they? If you believe that,
I don't know.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Oh, you don't know? Oh, pick me. Help on the way. Cubans, Venezuelans, Africans, Haitians, Chinese, Puerto Ricans, Somalis, pretty much every human ethnicity on the planet you kissed ass to in order to tell them to get the hell out of America once they voted for you. Or how about the fact that you hired every white nationalist, every white supremacist that ever lost a badge, and every Proud Boy, Oath Keeper, and Klan member with no background checks? Or how about every European ally you disrespected in Germany, France, London, British, Greenland, Iceland, Russia, China, Cuba, Venezuela, Salvador, France, Gaza, and India, with including the threats to invade many of them, as we did in Scotland. Oh, didn't think we'd find out about that? Yeah, we went over there and snatched up 2 people out of Scotland, same way we did Maduro. Or how about the J6 people that you released and all the Christmas bull crap we had to go through with these terrors, not to mention Martin Luther King Day, Pride Day, as well as Cinco de Mayo, Thanksgiving, and you even fucked up Independence Day. Just to name a few off the top of my head. But you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to a couple of MAGA supporters.
Because I actually have Pam Bondi and Kash Patel's success record here on a bunch of different issues and all the arrests they've made. And let's see the success of these two dipshits. Ah, yes, here's the list of things the Trump administration campaigned on and said that they would bring accountability to. Let's see how well Kash and Bondi have done on this. Okay, let's go down the list. Russia hoax, 0. Benghazi, 0. All right, I'll just read them off. COVID, Fauci, J6 committee, Biden auto pen, Fast and Furious, Burisma, Afghanistan withdrawal, the E-files, Hillary's emails, white snow in the White House, Doge findings, Hunter's laptop, 2020 election, Biden family corruption, with a remarkable arrest record of 0%.
So the rhetoric has turned into a belief system that there are no pedophiles, and then maybe sleeping with children, according to Megyn Kelly, at 15 is not being a pedophile, or maybe raping kids is okay.
Yes.
I was kidding. And look at Dean's reaction. Let's watch.
You asking me why it's wrong to rape children? Yeah, I need you to tell me why it is wrong in your eyes to rape children. To do that. Yes. Do you need me to repeat it? Can you not hear me? Do you have too many talks in your ears, or what's up? Why is it wrong? Is that too hard of a question?
Look at Dean's reaction. Look at his reaction. He just literally can't believe that this is where we are now.
It's amazing. He's a well-known podcaster, Dean Withers, and the guy just asked him, why is it wrong to essay children? I don't, why is it wrong? You know? That's where we at right now.
It's actually happening. That pearl clutching is so bad. Why don't you actually answer the question? It's actually happening. He's calling me a pearl clutcher for saying that child rape is wrong. No, because I asked the question. Why are you? I didn't think this one happened. You know, we see it often. They'll say that something's wrong, and then Trump will do it, and then they'll defend it. Did that with J6. Did that with the J6 pardons. Did that with Medicaid cuts. Did that with the SNAP cuts. Just didn't think they'd do it with child rape. Obfuscating. Let's just get to the fucking point, bro. I just didn't think they'd do it with child rape.
This is America. That's where we're at. That's the direction we're headed in.
Difference between goals and approach is goals get mixed, like and dislike, but the approach gets much more negative ratings. And one of the reasons for that is this movement that we've seen for people saying when ICE is stopping and detaining people, an increase now in the number who say they think that's too tough. What that does is it drives this increasing overall disapproval of the program, Major.
We inherited very high prices, and we inherited the highest inflation in 48 years. I say the history of our country. I think it sounds almost the same. Actually, I think 48 years sounds actually worse for some reason.
So, Steve, we heard sort of that same sentiment echoed from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, at a hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday. What is the reality about what this administration inherited?
If you have one bucket that holds 2 gallons and another bucket that holds 5 gallons, how many buckets do you have?
2?
Thank you.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm the smartest guy in the world? Says who?
The IQ test you took in prison. You got the highest score in history.
Look what happened. He didn't inherit the worst inflation history or any inflation above normal to speak of. We did have a significant amount of inflation, of course, during COVID, up to 9%. We worked our way down. This is the Biden administration. It worked its way down, 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 down. It got down to right around 3% when President Trump took office, and now it's at about 2.7%. So he inherited a very stable rate of inflation, and it only got marginally better. But we're talking about tariffs, so let's just take a look at the facts on tariffs. So this tracks imported and domestic goods sold at 5 big retailers in the U.S., and you can see that going back to October of 24, the trend line of both domestic and imported goods was down. In other words, they were in fact even going down in price. So that's where it was going. Then you hit Liberation Day, and look what happens. It turns around, and the prices of both go up. And again, even though domestic goods, you'd say, well, why should they go up? It's because when imported goods go up in price, the domestic retailers and producers are able to raise their prices.
Were you surprised, Steve, to hear Secretary Bessent yesterday claim that tariffs are not inflationary, despite being presented with a letter in which he wrote tariffs will be inflationary?
Write a letter to investors raising concerns about the impact of tariffs, writing that, quote, tariffs are inflationary. Did you say that at that time? Yes or no?
Are you stupid or something? Stupid is, stupid does, sir. No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a New York Times article that, agrees that you
New York
said that.
Times.
Then last summer, when you testified before a Senate committee, you said, and I quote, there is no inflation. Tariffs are not being passed on to consumers. You were quite definitive and even claimed that critics had, quote, tariff derangement syndrome.
The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. Now, that, of course, is illegal. It's a violation of all sorts of state, federal statutes and constitutional principles of federalism. But today, of course, Trump just doubled down.
What exactly did you mean when you said that you should nationalize elections? And which 15 states are you
I
talking
want to
about?
see elections be honest. And if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
And the entire definition of a democracy is a system in which the ruling party can lose an election. That's it. That's the one sentence democracy. They don't like it. And remember, in addition to all this, massed armed federal agents are disappearing people off the streets in multiple cities. They're terrorizing people into staying homes. They are shooting law-abiding observers, killing them in some cases, while the administration tells states like Minnesota and Pennsylvania, they'll call off the dogs if those blue states hand over their most private, granular voting data. Pam Bondi gave away the game here, right? Those masked agents running amok in your city who've killed 2 of your citizens, who account for 66% of the homicides in the city of Minneapolis, yeah, maybe we can tell them to leave if you give us the voting data. So again, connect the dots here. They're not exactly like, using excessive subterfuge.
These people were brought to our country to vote, and they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Until or unless the Supreme Court of the United States begins to address what's going on in America today. I don't expect the Supreme Court to do that, Allie. And if and when it does not, then as I've written many times before, the only thing that remains is we, the American people. It's we, the people, in whom all power resides under the Constitution of the United States. If the Supreme Court is not going to come to the aid of the country at this point, at the most important moment in history, when the country needs the Supreme Court of the United States, then all that's left is for we, the people, to take back the country through elections and other protests, such as those of the No King's Day, Allie. We have no choice. The Supreme Court has left us with no choice.